What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. As we close out the videos for today, we are getting into Knights of X issue number 5. This will be the final issue, and this is a issue you do not want to miss out on. This changes not only everything for Otherworlds, but changes everything for Mutant Kind. We had last left off with Captain Britain and the rest of her Knights of X making it to Mr. M in his domain. His domain is in fact the Siege Perilous, the item that they have been looking for, the item that would allow them to open up a gateway to Krakoa, a way to save all the mutants stuck in Otherworlds. With King Arthur and all of his knights being defeated, Merlin sends what's left of his forces to include himself for one final battle, one last opportunity to stop the mutants from getting their hands on the Siege Perilous. Now make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel, make sure you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we jump into the final issue, we are picking up with Shogo being chased down by all of Merlin's forces. On his back is Roma and Saturnine. As they are being chased down, Merlin is recognizing the odds are definitely not in his favor. King Arthur and his knights, they have been taken out. And so he is making one last ditch effort to be able to stop these mutants. In Mercator, we have the Knights of X currently having a discussion with Mr. M, and he has just let them know that they are inside the Siege Perilous. Most of them not really sure how this is even possible. Standing before them is Mr. M. He is an Omega level matter manipulator, and as we know, matter cannot be destroyed. It can only be changed. And so what he did is he took the Siege Perilous and he created this place. This entire place, every single grain of sand, every single rock, every single branch, it is all the Siege Perilous. When Apocalypse had asked him to protect the Siege Perilous, this is the only way that he knew how to truly make sure that nothing would come to it, no harm would come to it. And while he would very much love to remake this for her, to bring the Siege Perilous back, to open up the gateway to Krakoa, much like themselves, the Siege Perilous, it is subject to Roma's spell. Everything in Otherworld, it has to abide by the rules of magic and story. This place had been closed until the knights had made their sacrifice. That sacrifice was the death of Gambit. But the magic of their quest, it prevents Mr. M from being able to reforge the siege. All 10 knights, they must be present. And right now, there is only 8 of them. Shogo currently on the way, but Gambit is still missing. This is when Captain Britain, she kinda starts putting it together. The things aren't necessarily created or destroyed, they're only changed. At least here in this storyline, this story of magic and story. Now Gambit had tried to use the death card on Merlin, but it had backfired. But that card isn't necessarily about death, but more about change. And the siege is where mutant kind goes to be changed. When they had arrived here, Gambit's body had disappeared, not really sure where to find him. When they turn around, what they see is a giant castle that was not there before. Captain Britain, using her powers, she is able to pick up the signature of Gambit. That castle, it is Gambit. Being able to feel him inside, something is off, something is different. She can feel him, but he seems twisted. And so our heroes, their quest continues. Now they have to go find Gambit. Shogo currently keeping all of the forces distracted. This will give them plenty of ample time to go find Gambit and open up the Siege Perilous. As they get inside of this castle, they are quickly recognizing that Gambit is in fact not dead. And while they did watch him die, this place is obviously him. Right through the front door, there is a huge statue of Rogue. In front of her is a giant pool. This pool is bright red. As Mordred goes up to it, he goes to touch it, and that is when King Arthur grabs hold of him, letting Mordred know that there is no more running, that this is where one of them died. And while our heroes, they try to grab Mordred and bring him back, he lets them know that this needs to happen. It is time, once and for all, that this battle is settled, asking them to let him go. Him and his father disappear into the red goo. And so while the Knights of X, they make their way through the rest of the castle, they're really not sure if that was the best idea. Not really sure if they should have given up so easily and just let him go like that. But because of the story, it was inevitable that he had to face his father. Now, as they kind of talk trash on Mordred, none of them are a huge fan of him. His only mutant ability is to inspire those around him. And while this has its benefits, a lot of them were just trying to keep it in that they weren't the biggest fan of him. But getting through the castle, this is where they see statues of Gambit. Statues of him in every different timeline. The Captain Britain Corps also having a place like this inside of the Starlight Citadel. If Gambit had ever gone to this place, that is why they are seeing it now. He is trying to make sense of who he is. Having Rachel go ahead and do some chrono skimming on all of these statues, trying to see the timelines, because she really is curious. She has been thinking this whole time that she has the Captain Britain Corps by her side. If Rachel can see the timelines, the whole multiverse opens up to them. They wouldn't need the Citadel. They wouldn't need to serve Saturnine, Merlin, or even Roma. They can finally get rid of this dictator-like rule. The Captain Britain Corps can serve as its protectors without having somebody sitting on the throne. And so with Rachel doing her thing, she is able to connect and she is able to see exactly where their Gambit is. But before they can go off and they can go look for him, this is when they run into Wrong Slide. And he is not here as a friend. He is here to lay down some hate. They quickly learn that this is not in fact Wrong Slide. This is Gambit's fear that he is going to be resurrected and he is going to be like Wrong Slide. With Bay being able to take him down, they think they have the upper hand, as this place is coming down like a literal house of cards. We see two cards, they come in and they cut Megan. These cards, they come from Gambit himself, except this is a much darker, a much more twisted Gambit. And while he tries to say that he has changed, Betsy knows exactly who he is. And she has vowed, she has sworn to return him back to Rogue as they do their best to battle this version of Gambit. He really is kicking their freaking butt. That is until Betsy, she takes her dagger and plunges it into his head, letting him know that she will not let him forget who he is. And Rachel purifies him, with Gambit appearing to be on fire. This is not in fact hurting him, it is a psychic manipulation, with Gambit rising up out of the fire. A gleaming light off in the distance, this is where he sees Rogue, and he knows that this is not real, that Rogue is not here, because he knows he has been stuck in other worlds. But when Rogue grabs a hold of him, she lets him know that this is very much real. Betsy and Rachel had restored Gambit. Mr. M was able to open up the siege, and she and all the other mutants, they were waiting right there at the gateway. And while she came with the first wave, our mutants, they show up in force and they take down all of Merlin's forces. And we have a little bit of everybody here. Nightcrawler, Juggernaut, Cyclops, Legion. This battle was over before it even freaking began. And we have Betsy, Rachel going off having their own little conversation, just seeing how things really have panned out. Arthur and Mordred. Usually Mordred is supposed to kill his father, but that didn't happen. The story has been changed. Not knowing where this story is going to lead, it's going to be very interesting to see the person that Mordred becomes now. But Rachel and Betsy finally have some alone time, a chance to really figure out the relationship, where they're gonna go with this, so on and so forth. Now Rachel believes that Betsy's gonna be too preoccupied with Otherworld now that there is a gateway directly from Krakoa to Otherworld. But she says that she doesn't have to do that, because what they did with Gambit, every psychic can do now. So dying here in Otherworld, it is not irreversible anymore. This is all because of the Siege Perilous. This makes her no longer feel personally responsible for trying to escort everybody through Otherworld. But there is still a lot of work to be done. This is what takes us over to the Starlight Citadel. No longer having a parliament, no longer having an army, merely 3 individuals sitting inside of here. Saturnine, Roma, and Merlin. But Captain Britain has come to lay down the law. She is letting them know that there is no longer a dictatorship, that all of this has been one giant game, all the way from the 10 of Swords to what Merlin is doing to even the game Roma is playing at. This whole spell thing, it was all a game to win favor with Captain Britain, so Roma could be the overall ruler of Otherworld. And now that the last of the Starlight Citadel magic exists inside the Captain Britain blade, there is nothing that they can do to stop her. But Merlin, most of all, is going to pay the price. Lifting up her sword and bringing it down on the neck of Merlin, she executes him right here on the spot. And so with Merlin gone and their people saved, the Siege Perilous is still being protected by Mr. M. And so no longer having to stay in this one place, she can go patrol the multiverse. But she is not going to go do this alone. And this is where Rachel agrees to join her on her new journey. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I actually think that this was a lot of fun, but that's no surprise. I have loved every single issue of this, and while we did kill Gambit off, by the end of this comic, Gambit has returned. Now this begs the question, when exactly was this taking place? Because so far in Judgment Day, we have yet to see Captain Britain, the Captain Britain Corps, all the individuals that were stuck in Otherworld. I'll probably have to go look that up later, but I think it takes place prior to Judgment Day. Judgment Day just hasn't had the opportunity to use the full scale of the arsenal that is mutant kind. But Gambit is back. Huge thing, awesome. So glad that he is brought back and he's not some kind of permadead or being brought back like Wrong Slide. In fact, nobody ever again has to be brought back like Wrong Slide. After what Betsy and Rachel had figured out together, a new technique to be able to really bring the mind back where it belongs. This means that resurrection, even if you die in Otherworld, it works. This is a big deal because this was a huge threat to mutant kind. It was such a huge risk to go to Otherworld, but that is no longer the case. We will definitely be seeing the return of Captain Britain later on down the line, but this 5 issues, it was one heck of a ride. Magic, swords, Merlin, King Arthur, a little bit of D&D lore in here. Like, this stuff is just so much fun, and I'm really excited to see what is going to happen with Otherworld next. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything that happened in this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything going on in this series. Now, if you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by hitting the super thanks button. This button will let you donate directly to the channel, and every little bit helps us out. If you can't do that, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you like this video, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.